Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a lineup of gaming news from developer messages to controversial game bans and intriguing patents. Let's dive right in. First up, we're checking in with the launch of AC Shadows. The development team at Ubisoft has released a touching message to fans following what sounds like a massive launch. I don't know. I don't care. Shadows is not for me. In fact, Assassin's Creed hasn't been for me since the end of 3, which is a while ago. So, jump back into this. Apparently, the team spent their launch weekend reading through all the fan reactions on Reddit, and they say they're feeling the love. Ubisoft stated, "Seeing your excitement, your thoughtful reactions, and your joy has meant the world to us. It's always great to see that connection between developers and the community." They even mentioned that after years of hard work, there's nothing more rewarding than seeing players connect with their creation. But what's out there tells a completely different story. Anyways, Ubisoft also made sure to let fans know that while they can't reply to every single message, they are definitely listening. They've been reading all the posts, the celebrations, the feedback, even the theories, and they say it's been incredibly inspiring and helps them keep improving the game. It sounds like they're really invested in the community's experience and the future evolution of Shadows. Oh, if you think so. And speaking of a successful launch, the article mentions that AC Shadows reached 2 million players over its first weekend. And apparently that's where the counting stopped, at least from everything that I've seen across Facebook, Twitter. I think I've even seen a couple things on TikTok. Not only that, but a source told Variety that the game had the second best first day sales revenue of any Assassin's Creed game, only being topped by 2020's Valhalla. And they say that's some serious success, if you say so. It seems the critical reception has also been positive, with GameSpot's own review giving AC Shadows an 8 out of 10. But of course, as you know, we don't always buy critic reviews. We don't believe them. The reviewer, Jordan Ramey, called it an absolute blast to play. So it looks like both fans and critics are enjoying Ubisoft's latest offering. It's always encouraging to see developers acknowledge and appreciate the support of their player base, and this message from the AC Shadows team sounds genuinely heartfelt. No. Moving on, let's talk about Dune Awakening, the upcoming survival MMO set in the Dune universe. While many games in the survival genre launch in early access, Funcom is taking a different route. Creative director Joel Bylos recently announced that Dune Awakening will not launch in early access and will not have a monthly subscription fee. Unlike some other MMOs, that's definitely welcome news for many players. Believe me, it is, because I've been paying for Final Fantasy XIV since 2013. Bylos also stated that the game will receive regular free updates, including new content, features, and QOL improvements. However, there's a bit of a twist when it comes to playing early. While it's not early access in the traditional sense, Funcom is offering what Steam calls advanced access. Players who purchase the $70 or $90 editions of the game will be able to start playing 5 days early on May 15th, before the official PC launch on May 20th. Both of these more expensive editions also come with something every game gets anymore: a season pass. That includes 4 post-launch DLCs as well as additional cosmetic items. And one thing that gamers love these days are their cosmetic items. Bylos explained that this advanced access not only allows eager players to jump in early, but also helps them balance server load as more players join at the official launch. Aiming for the best possible experience, he also assured players who want a fresh start that new servers will launch on May 20th. It's interesting to see a game forego the traditional early access model, but still offer a way to play early for those willing to pay a premium, which, as an MMO player, like I said, 14, and I've played a couple other ones, just about everybody, the overwhelming majority of the MMO player base, will pay to get that early access. So as we've said in 14 for years, you're not paying for early access, you're just paying for it on time. Dune Awakening is set to launch on PC first on May 20th, with Xbox Series XS and PS5 versions planned for a later date. Now let's talk about a potentially interesting development from Nintendo. It seems they filed a patent for a graphical presentation that sounds very similar to Square Enix's popular HD 2D style. For those unfamiliar, HD 2D takes retro pixelated characters and places them in a detailed 3D environment, a style that has resonated with many players on the Switch, most notably in games like DQ3's HD 2D remake. According to a report from Go Nintendo, the patent is titled with a rather technical name, but essentially covers 3D games that utilizes 2D inspired elements in their visuals. The article suggests that this patent goes a bit further than simply recreating the look of classic 2D games in 3D. It mentions a flattened perspective that could appear like a traditional side-scroller, even though the characters and environments would actually be 3D creations. This could potentially offer a unique visual experience, blending the nostalgia of 2D with the depth and complexity of 3D. Now, one key aspect mentioned in the patent is the use of enhanced lighting and shadows to create a sense of depth and positioning for both characters and backgrounds, something that wasn't possible in older 2D games. This could lead to a striking visual presentation. However, as with all Nintendo patents, the article wisely points out that there's no guarantee this will actually be used in any future games. We'll have to keep an eye on Nintendo's software releases to see if anything aligns with this description. The idea of classic Nintendo franchises receiving an HD 2D makeover is certainly exciting for many fans. And one game that has used this and has actually made it very popular, Octopath Traveler, which also received a sequel with the same name, of course. Finally, we have an update on the situation surrounding Silent Hill F. Now, mainly this was in Australia. Initially, the psychological horror game from Konami was reportedly refused classification in the country, effectively banning it. This refused classification meant that the Australian Classification Board deemed the game's content too extreme, even for an R18 plus rating. At the time, the specific reasons for the ban weren't immediately clear. However, Steam's mature content description for Silent Hill F does give us some clues, listing depictions of gender discrimination, child abuse, bullying, drug-induced hallucinations, torture, and graphic violence. These are definitely areas that the Australian Classification Board has historically frowned upon. We've seen similar issues in the past with games like Fallout 3 over drug use and others regarding the abuse of minors. Even previous Silent Hill games like Homecoming have faced classification issues in Australia due to extreme graphic violence. However, there's been a recent update. The ban on Silent Hill F in Australia has now been retracted. A spokesperson for the classification board stated that the initial refused classification entry has been removed from the National Classification Database. They also mentioned that a classification decision will be published ahead of the game's release. So, while the initial ban has been lifted, the mature content description suggests that the game will likely still contain some pretty disturbing themes. It remains to be seen what the final classification will be and if any modifications will be required for the game to be sold in Australia. It's a developing situation, and we'll be sure to keep you updated on the final outcome. Well, that wraps up gaming news for this week. What are your thoughts on the Assassin's Creed Shadow launch, the Dune Awakening early access, Nintendo's patent, and Silent Hill? Let us know down in the comments below. Please, if you did get this far, please like, subscribe, and share. And if you didn't, you can also hit that thumbs down. But please don't forget, keep your eye open for more news from us and discussions. And we can't wait to hear from you guys.